Volume 1, Chapter 9, The First Funeral Rituals. There is one question that has accompanied humanity since the very beginning of its existence, a silent and universal question that transcends continents, civilizations, and time itself. What becomes of us when we die? Long before the birth of great religions, before temples, priests, and sacred texts, our ancestors were already asking themselves this profound question. The moment human beings began to bury their dead with care may represent one of the greatest intellectual revolutions in our history. What appears to us today as a simple and familiar gesture reveals something extraordinary about the human mind. Humanity had begun to do more than merely survive. It had begun to reflect upon its own existence. Across prehistoric Morocco, archaeological discoveries provide remarkable evidence of this transformation. Ancient burial sites discovered throughout the country demonstrate that human communities were already treating their dead with particular care thousands of years ago. Among the most significant archaeological sites is Tafaralt Cave, also known as the Cave of the Pigeons. Occupied for thousands of years, it has yielded the remains of numerous individuals whose funerary practices reveal an impressive degree of symbolic behavior for their time. These discoveries have profoundly enriched our understanding of prehistoric societies in North Africa. The dead were not simply abandoned to nature. Their bodies were carefully placed within designated burial spaces. Some archaeological evidence suggests the use of natural pigments, particularly red ochre, which appears in prehistoric funerary rituals across many regions of the world. Why were pigments used to accompany the dead? What meaning did they hold for these ancient communities? Archaeologists remain cautious when interpreting prehistoric rituals. Certainty is rare when studying societies that vanished tens of thousands of years ago. Yet one conclusion is undeniable. These practices demonstrate the existence of sophisticated symbolic thought. Prehistoric humanity had begun to perceive death as something more than a biological event. It had become a moment worthy of reflection, ceremony, and remembrance. Around these ancient burials, the earliest forms of human spirituality may have begun to emerge. Perhaps stories of the deceased were shared beside the fire. Perhaps their achievements were preserved in collective memory. Perhaps people imagined that life, in some form, continued beyond death. No scientist can say with certainty what the first inhabitants of Morocco believed as they buried their loved ones. What we do know is that they considered these individuals worthy of care and remembrance. These funeral rituals also reveal something deeply human, a profound emotional connection between members of a community. Behind every burial lies a story of affection, family bonds, and beliefs that remain largely hidden from us today. Imagine a small prehistoric community living in a Moroccan valley 15,000 years ago. Silence has fallen across the camp. Men, women, and children gather together to accompany one of their own on their final journey. Their movements are deliberate and meaningful. The rituals they perform have likely been passed down through generations. The youngest members of the community observe the elders without fully understanding the significance of what they are witnessing. This moment represents far more than a burial. It marks the emergence of something uniquely human, the awareness of our own mortality. The first funeral rituals remain among the most beautiful expressions of humanity's earliest consciousness. They demonstrate that prehistoric people were already capable of love, memory, compassion, and philosophical reflection. Long before the great civilizations of antiquity, the first inhabitants of Morocco were already looking beyond the limits of their own lives. Without realizing it, they were laying the foundations for the great questions that continue to define humanity today. Who are we? Why are we here? What remains after our final breath? Perhaps the earliest answers to those timeless questions still lie hidden within the silent prehistoric graves of Morocco.